Shalom from Israel to all of Daystar viewers around the world. I am Moshe Bar Tzvi, the producer of Israel Now News. We at Israel Now News are dedicated to bringing you the full story and the truth about Israel from Israel. It's written in the Holy Bible when David said in Psalm 43:3, "O send out your light and your truth. Let them lead us. Let them bring us to your holy hill and to your tabernacle." And God says in Zechariah 8:31, "I will return to Zion and dwell in the midst of Jerusalem. Jerusalem shall be called the city of truth, the mountain of the Lord of hosts, the holy mountain. Always search for the truth, and the truth shall set you free." John 8:31. I hope you enjoyed the program. God bless you from Jerusalem. Shalom, shalom.
Welcome to Israel Now News. I'm Yochanan Elrom.
And I'm Erin Viner.
In our top story, there will be no advanced warning ahead of a military strike on Iran. According to U.S. officials, Israel will not warn America before it strikes Iran. Both Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and Israel's Defense Minister Ehud Barak have delivered this message to a series of top U.S. officials who have visited Israel recently. Israeli officials said the reason that they will not warn America is to shield the United States from any responsibility for failing to prevent an Israeli attack on Iran's nuclear facilities. This news comes after CNN aired an interview with Senator John McCain, who accused the Obama administration of intentionally leaking information pertaining to the Israeli-Iranian standoff in order to undermine the Jewish state in the face of a nuclear Iran.
In the wake of the recent terror attacks in India, Georgia, and Thailand, London's Foreign Office has cautioned British diplomats against riding in cars with Israeli officials or meeting them in public. And meanwhile, as a consequence of those attacks, Israeli embassies have tightened their own security measures. Israel's ambassador to Egypt, Yaakov Amitai, has also requested that Egyptian authorities heighten his security detail. Upon his arrival to Cairo from Amman, Jordan last week, Amitai demanded that Egyptian authorities thoroughly inspect the diplomatic vehicles belonging to his staff before leaving the airport, apparently out of concern of an assassination attempt in the unstable country, with the recent attacks against Israelis abroad only heightening his apprehension. Last September, thousands of protesters in Egypt raided the Israeli embassy, where they threatened the staff. The Israeli envoy was eventually rescued, and the embassy was only just recently restored and restaffed.
The United Nations Middle East envoy, Robert Seri, has been sharply criticized for his participation in the International Conference for the Defense of Occupied Jerusalem. The conference, which is being held at Doha, Qatar, is highly controversial due to its anti-Israel and anti-Jewish rhetoric. An Israeli official said the Doha meeting was not a respectable conference, but rather a stage for the denial of Jewish history and the Jewish connection to Jerusalem. Israeli officials were barred from the event, whose keynote speakers included Mahmoud Abbas, chairman of the Palestinian Authority, Arab League Secretary General Nabil el-Arabi, the Secretary General of the Organization of the Islamic Cooperation, and United Nations Mideast Peace Process Coordinator Robert Seri.
In his address at the Doha conference, Palestinian Authority Chairman Mahmoud Abbas declared that Jerusalem has and always will be an Arab city. Abbas vowed to encourage Arabs and Muslims to visit Jerusalem in order to strengthen their hold on the city. Hamas officials scoffed at that invitation, saying that they would only enter Jerusalem to deliver it from the occupation. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu called Abbas' statement severe incitement and said that it's time for the Palestinian leadership to stop distorting reality, stressing that Jerusalem has been the eternal capital of the Jewish people for thousands of years. A statement released by the Prime Minister's office said that the city allows for the freedom of worship for everyone and that Israel will continue to devotedly protect the holy sites of all religions. Abbas knows full well that his slanderous statements are groundless, read that statement, adding, "The State of Israel expects the Palestinian leader, who supposedly aspires for peace, to prepare his people for peace and coexistence rather than spreading lies and incitement."
Egypt has postponed the trial of 16 Americans who are being held on charges of using illegal foreign funds to create unrest in the country. All are members of U.S.-based pro-democracy groups whom Egyptian officials claim were operating without a license and plotting against the Egyptian government. Several members of the U.S. government, including the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Martin Dempsey, Republican Senator John McCain, and the president himself have urged Egyptian officials to drop the charges, but the Egyptian government is intent on making an example of the accused foreigners. The scandal has greatly strained the relationship between Washington and Cairo. U.S. officials have threatened to cut $1.5 billion in foreign aid to Egypt if the issue is not resolved swiftly.
European Union foreign ministers have agreed to impose new sanctions against Syria's central bank. The measures also include a total ban on diamond and gold trade with the country, all Syrian cargo to the European Union, and will also be extended to top officials in Damascus. British Foreign Secretary William Hague said that the sanctions are a crucial step in pressuring Syrian President Bashar al-Assad to end the violence that has killed more than 7,500 people over the past year.
The International Red Cross has been allowed access to the Syrian city of Hama. The organization and the Syrian Arab Red Crescent teams brought medical supplies, food, and relief aid for 12,000 people. Another Red Cross convoy is expected to deliver aid to the heavily devastated province of Homs. Meanwhile, Syrian opposition and Western powers criticized the referendum, which Assad held for a new Syrian constitution, saying that the changes it proposed were merely superficial and that it allows Bashar al-Assad to remain in power until at least the year 2028. U.S. Secretary of State Hillary Clinton called the vote a cynical ploy and said that the phony referendum is going to be used by Assad to justify what he is doing to Syrian citizens. Civilians demonstrated in the streets of Damascus, burning their ballots, saying that the vote will not douse the flames of the resistance and that Assad should be executed.
2 off-duty Israeli soldiers were attacked by an Arab mob near Haifa on the Sabbath. The 19-year-old soldiers were walking into the emergency room of Haifa's Rambam Hospital when a car with Arab passengers approached them and asked if they were Jewish. The mob then attacked the young Israelis with clubs. One witness said that there were up to 20 Arabs involved in the attack. So far, just 10 have been placed under arrest. Both young men are recovering at Rambam, with one suffering from injuries to his spinal cord and the other with major head trauma. An uncle of one of the soldiers said that he could not believe that here in Israel, a person can be assaulted just because he is Jewish.
A group of Israeli doctors from the Eye to Zion organization have saved the life of a young Ethiopian girl. Eye to Zion works with Israeli physicians who volunteer to work pro bono and who fund their trips independently. Recently, Eye to Zion sent a delegation of Israeli eye doctors to Ethiopia to perform free eye exams and cataract surgeries. While there, the doctors met a 10-year-old girl suffering from a large tumor in her eye. Together, they arranged for her to fly to Israel, where 2 of Israel's top ocular plastic surgeons performed several surgeries. She is recuperating at an Israeli hospital and set to make a full recovery. Eye to Zion operates in various places such as Vietnam, Azerbaijan, Micronesia, Myanmar, and Ethiopia. They send advanced equipment, doctors, specialists, mobile operating rooms, nurses, and experts to the inhabitants of remote locations.
A group of Israelis traveling abroad in Morocco were searching for ancient tombs in the Sahara Desert when they found themselves at the altar of the Jewish temple. Standing in the middle of a barren desert, half an hour's drive from any civilization, is a life-sized replica of Herod's temple. The fiberglass reproduction was built for the filming of a movie in Morocco. The religious Jewish men walked through the temple absolutely astounded. The Holy of Holies, altar, and tabernacle were built with the help of Jewish texts.
Of soldiers based at the Nahal Oz and Kisufim bases in southern Israel recently received a rare treat, a gourmet meal. A group of American chefs visited Israel as part of the Birthright Israel program, which brings young Jews to Israel for their first time. During their trip, they decided to use their talents to do something nice for some Israeli soldiers. The young American chefs prepared a variety of gourmet foods and served the soldiers themselves. One chef said, "We've never cooked for soldiers before, but this could be one of the most significant meals that we have ever prepared.
That concludes the news portion of our show. Stay tuned for Ask the Source with Josh Reinstein.
Hello and welcome to Ask the Source. I'm your host Josh Reinstein, and we're here in Jerusalem on our beautiful rooftop studio. Our guest today is Michael Gerbitz, founder of United with Israel. Michael, thank you for being on the show.
A pleasure.
Michael, please tell our viewers, what is United with Israel?
United with Israel is a worldwide movement uniting people from over 100 countries and teaching them about the beauty and the special place of Israel on the world scene. We've developed a massive movement of people that love Israel and have friends that need to learn about Israel, and through social media primarily, we're able to spread all the good news and all the blessing coming straight out of Israel.
Well, something that's incredible about United with Israel is it has the largest presence on Facebook of any page that supports Israel. You have 1 million fans. Why has it become so popular?
Well, Israel sells itself. The key is to spread the truth about Israel. Israel gets a bad rap in the mainstream media, we all know that. And Israel, once the truth gets out about Israel, then it just catches like wildfire. So we start with a base of supporters. They spread the truth to their friends, and that's really what social media is designed to do, a platform that can allow the truth to be spread from person to person to person. So it's extremely grassroots. It covers over 100 countries, many languages, and we know we have the truth and the blessing on our side, so it's only a matter of time until we have tens, if not hundreds of millions of people on our page.
You also have the Facebook page United with Jerusalem. Tell us about the message of United with Jerusalem.
Well, United with Jerusalem is extremely important because Jerusalem is literally ground zero of the world. It's where it all began. It's where all the action is here. It's where our hearts, it's the heart of the state of Israel, the heart of the Jewish people. It's really the heart of the world. And with that page particularly, we spread all the good news, the important beauty coming out of Jerusalem that needs to be spread throughout the entire world. It's a way of uniting people, not just with Israel, but particularly with the city of Jerusalem and all that it has to offer.
And I assume there's also a political message, keeping Jerusalem united. Is that one of the most important issues of our time?
Absolutely. At the end of the day, no matter what happens with the peace process, we must keep Jerusalem united. This is our heart and this is our soul. I don't think any country in the world would be willing to give up their heart, their soul, and their capital. It's extremely unreasonable that that be asked of the Jewish people. So if we've got Jerusalem united, finally in 1967 a great miracle happened, and once again the city was reunited under Jewish sovereignty. This is the key issue for today and something that we spread constantly, keeping Jerusalem united.
Well, you already have 1 million followers on Facebook, and you have United for Jerusalem and the campaign for United Jerusalem. What are some of the things that you're going to try to do in the future?
Well, going back to the million, it's very interesting. We do have 1 million direct supporters. We actually have already 200 million people all over the world that are one friend removed from that. Literally, if you take the 1 million people and take the group of their friends, that's 200 million out of the 800 million people on Facebook. So our future is, I wouldn't say to take over the world, but certainly to have 1 billion people that are one click away from the good news about Israel. And it's very, very doable. We've accomplished this in only 1 year. So give us a couple more years. I believe that we will have a reach of 1 billion people in the short term.
Well, you know, one of the major issues is the war for public diplomacy, the war for public opinion. How important is social media in that struggle to get people to understand the truth about Israel?
It's extremely important. As you know very well, the revolutions in Tunisia and in Egypt and you know, all over the world are powered by social media. Israel must take a stand, a strong position in social media. The Israeli government, while we love them dearly, are not set up ideally to be a social media machine, and that's where United with Israel comes in. We do it for Israel. We're working together with the IDF and the Prime Minister's office, the Foreign Ministry, etc., and the Hasbara Ministry. We are doing Hasbara 2012, and someone had to do it. We realized there was a need. We developed this niche for ourselves, and we are just spreading like wildfire. So yes, absolutely. To unite with Israel without social media is just literally not effective.
Well, one of the major components of social media is Twitter. Do you have a presence on Twitter, or is that something that you plan to do in the future?
Yes, we do. We definitely have Twitter. It's hard to get millions of people on Twitter. It's just by the nature of what Twitter is. But Twitter is a more intimate conversation. We have someone on our team that's tweeting a good part of the day and developing great relationships with people through that media. And we are also expanding to having leaders all around the world that interact with us through Twitter and Facebook. And we're also launching a private social network, which is off Facebook. It will be our own network. We're also into Google+. We just launched right now. You name it, we're there. And we just invite the entire world to please join us. Go to unitedwithisrael.org or go to our Facebook page, which is facebook.com/unitedwithisrael. Join the global movement for Israel. We need you, and we need your friends.
There are literally tens of millions of people watching this show. What final message would you have for our viewers?
The message is Israel needs the support of its friends throughout the world. Everybody makes a difference. Every single one of those 200 million people right now that are in our expanded network are important. Everybody counts, no matter what religion you are, no matter what language you speak, whatever region of the world you are in. We need people from all corners of the globe to stand united with Israel. Go to unitedwithisrael.org and join our global movement.
Thank you, Michael, for being on the show, and thank you for tuning in to Ask the Source. I'm your host, Josh Reinstein. Now back to the studio.
Up next, Shining Light from Israel.
What makes the miracles of Jesus even more miraculous? Standing where they happened, in Israel. Come visit Capernaum, where Jesus restored a paralytic's helpless legs. Sail the Sea of Galilee, where Jesus walked on the water. Stroll through the Garden of Gethsemane, where Jesus healed a servant's ear. To learn more about standing where it all happened, in Israel, visit www.goisrael.com. Come visit Israel.
Every state has the right of self-defense and to secure borders to protect itself from hostile invasions and terror. Israel is a small state surrounded by Arab countries 650 times its size, some of which are large bases of global terror. Only 44 miles separate between the Jordan Valley and the Mediterranean Sea. After the Six-Day War in 1967, when Israel was attacked by 4 armies on 3 fronts, United Nations Security Council Resolution 242 stated that Israel was entitled to new defensible borders to replace the previous fragile lines from which it was attacked. What are Israel's defensible borders? What are its essential security needs? The Jordan Rift Valley, Israel's eastern frontier, forms a natural barrier between Israel and the countries of Jordan, Iraq, and Iran. The Jordan Valley rises from an area that is 1,200 feet below sea level to a hilly ridge of up to 3,000 feet, creating a steep 4,200-foot virtual wall opposite any force attacking from the east. The growing threat of global jihad activity near Israel's borders requires it to prevent infiltrations of terrorists and weapons. When Israel left the Philadelphia corridor in Gaza, it became a highway for the infiltration of terrorists and the flow of hundreds of tons of ammunition and weaponry from all over the Arab world, aimed at Israeli civilians. The Jordan Valley is the equivalent of Gaza's Philadelphia corridor in the West Bank. To defend itself, Israel must retain control over the Jordan Valley. This is Israel's mountain ridge, rising up to 3,000 feet. It dominates Israel's major coastal cities, where more than 70% of its population, 80% of its industry, and all of its airfields and seaports are located. Missiles launched from the Judean hills pose an immediate threat to Jerusalem, Israel's capital. Israel's only international airport, Ben Gurion, would be in the range of even primitive rockets, while all planes taking off and landing would be threatened by shoulder-launched anti-aircraft missiles. More advanced weaponry would be able to hit virtually any point in Israel. If Israel were forced back to the 1949 armistice lines, the Green Line, the country's width would be reduced to a narrow 9-mile waistline that would be impossible to defend. That's why any future arrangement must include Israeli control over key areas of the mountain ridge and a demilitarized Palestinian state. Israel's narrow borders means a combat aircraft can cross the entire country in under 4 minutes. In less than 2 minutes, an enemy plane could penetrate the country's airspace via the Jordan Valley and reach Jerusalem. In order to thwart an aerial attack on Jerusalem, a hostile plane must be shot down at least 10 miles east of the capital to prevent it from crashing into major population centers. Therefore, Israel must be able to identify hostile planes before they cross the Jordan River line and intercept them shortly after. To defend itself, Israel must control the airspace over the West Bank. Israel's transportation arteries, and in particular the Trans-Israel Highway, enable travel and connection between Israel's regions. They also assure the mobility of the Israel Defense Forces in case of attack. Protection of these vital arteries is essential in order to ensure that 1. Civilians aren't victims of terrorist gunfire. 2. Regions of the country cannot easily be cut off. 3. The mobility of Israel's defense forces is not hindered in the case of invasion. To defend itself, Israel must control its main arteries of transportation. There is enormous uncertainty about future trends in the Middle East. Iran is determined to become the supreme power as the U.S. withdraws from Iraq. No one can guarantee the future of many of the current regimes in the region. Today, more than ever, it is crucial to ensure defensible borders for Israel.
Please stay tuned for the ICEJ report from the International Christian Embassy in Jerusalem.
Every year in late winter, the Jewish people celebrate the Purim festival, which commemorates one of the greatest victories in the Jewish history. Here in Jerusalem, just a few days, thousands of children and adults will be out on the street to celebrate this exciting festival. Purim is all about Queen Esther, the first lady of the Persian Empire, which through her determination and her courage saved the Jewish people. Esther was the descendant of a Jewish family which was led captive during the Babylonian conquest. This beautiful girl was chosen to be the wife of the most powerful man of that time, King Ahasuerus of Persia.
During Esther's time as queen, history took a dramatic turn. Haman, a trusted advisor of King Ahasuerus, plotted to annihilate all the Jews living in the Persian realm. Though Esther was safe in the royal palace, Mordecai, Esther's uncle, pleaded with her to intervene on behalf of her people. The book of Esther recounts the dramatic appeal by Mordecai. And Mordecai told them to answer Esther, "Do not think in your heart that you will escape in the king's palace any more than all the other Jews. For if you remain completely silent at this time, relief and deliverance will arise for the Jews from another place, but you and your father's house will perish. Yet who knows whether you have come to the kingdom for such a time as this?"
Queen Esther gave heed to the call of Mordecai. She went to the king and saved by that the Jewish people in a most glorious manner.
The enemies of Israel have been punished. But what is most attracting to us is to see this dramatic call of Mordecai to his niece Esther. He says, if you remain completely silent, then relief and deliverance will arise from another place, but you and your house will perish. What a powerful testimony of faith. Mordecai was sure that whatever would take place, the Jewish people would survive. And this is exactly what history teaches us. Yesterday it was Adolf Hitler, today it is Ahmadinejad in Iran. They all plot to wipe out the Jewish people, but they will never succeed. The Word of God declares us in the book of Psalms that he who watches Israel, he neither slumbers nor sleeps. He will protect his people. In a way, God is telling us that Israel doesn't really need your help, my help, or even the help of the church, because God will surely save his people. But it's rather about our very own survival. If we remain silent, we are endangered to perish. And this is exactly what Paul teaches in the book of Romans. He says, do not boast against the branches, but if you boast, remember, it is the root which carries you, but not you who is carrying the root. And today, too many Christians, they are not aware of the eternal and irrevocable calling of the Jewish people, and by that, they are endangering their very own root system. But let us not be people like that, but let us stand together to support the Jewish people and make sure that our root system is being well taken care of.
During the Purim season, we are reminded by history of our need to faithfully stand with the Jewish people. One very practical way to do this is to support our groundbreaking pastors' conferences at Yad Vashem.
In fall 2012, the International Christian Embassy would like to bring 25 pastors from all around the world to Jerusalem for a strategic conference at Yad Vashem. In order to do this, we need 500 partners which support this unique project with $100 each. I want to invite you to visit our website at www.icej.tv or send us an email and make a donation to bring those pastors to Jerusalem to educate them about the dangers of anti-Semitism and hatred. Your donation will make a difference. Please stand with us and may the Lord bless you from Jerusalem.
That's all for this edition of Israel Now News. I'm Yochanan Elrom.
And I'm Erin Viner. Please join us next week for all your Israel updates.